certain category with shady practices and people.
Yeah.
You could have an agent work 20, 30, 40 hours showing you like 80 homes, and then you could just go with a friend.
I forgot to ask you earlier. So how much are you putting down originally on your home? So should you be doing 5%, 10%, 15%,
So
avoiding the PMI? Kind of what's your thought
right.
process?
So I was also on a pilot on ABC. Okay.
Okay, what was the
Which
movie?
got which got canceled after like one episode. Okay, it was a pilot. Do it.
All right, man. What's going on? AK, welcome to the pod. So this is a new channel, and I wanted to start reaching out to people that I thought were doing this cool shit.
Mhm.
I kind of mentioned it to you when I reached out to you like directly, and I was like, you've got a digital footprint that's growing right now, and I've known you for a little while, kind of on and off. You know, we've kind of seen each other over the years or whatever. So I thought like
Right.
it'd be great to have you on. You're like already on your way up. You know what I mean? From
Well,
like side. I've been following your YouTube channel pretty closely for a while. So,
thanks, man. Well, thanks for having me.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So, one, we know each other from, I guess, your cousin, Shano, and I go way back.
Right.
So,
Right.
pretty much your family and my family, or me, are pretty close. I know Essen, I know Wasim, I know Shano
Yeah.
really well. So your brothers are like really good friends of mine. So I guess that makes us, close too. Just
I know that makes us a lot more comfortable too, right?
yeah, yeah, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. It's so much easier to reach out to you. You know what I mean? In the
Yeah.
beginning, rather than being like nervous about it or whatever, it's like a lot
Yeah.
easier when you know somebody or have some
Yeah, because
connection.
you're dealing with a celebrity, bro. Come on.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just trying to follow your footsteps. You know what I mean? That's basically.
I'm just messing around, man.
Um,
No, this is good stuff.
yeah. So okay, let's get into it. So you're currently doing real estate right now. You're a realtor out of Dallas, right? So that's like the primary area that you focus on. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. Mostly a lot of the northern suburbs of the DFW Metroplex, but all over Dallas.
Okay. Okay. And why only Dallas? Is that because you have to physically be present for most of these like
Yeah.
relationships or clients or what?
So it's one of those things. I'm licensed throughout the entire state of Texas, right? Because
Okay.
our license is for the entire state of Texas.
Okay.
But to be, we have a big fiduciary duty to our clients to make sure that we look out for their best interests. We know the market and all of that
Is that a
stuff.
legal is that a legal obligation? Is that a legal duty?
Yes.
That fiduciary
Uh-huh.
duty? Okay.
Yeah, because we follow very strict standards of the ethical standards put by the National Association of Realtors. So not every
Okay.
real estate agent is a realtor. Okay?
Got it. Got it.
Because the
Got it.
word realtor is a trademarked term from the National Association of Realtors, and we have to be a member of that to be able to use the word realtor. A lot of
Oh,
people don't
that is
know that.
so good to know. No, I had no idea. I
Yeah.
had no
So,
idea. Okay, so a realtor has a fiduciary duty. A real estate agent does not.
I'm not sure if the real estate agent does or not,
Okay.
but
You know what
ever
I mean?
since I got into the game, I've always been a realtor. Like I've always been a part of those associations. So
Okay.
it's kind of crazy because we've got three associations that we're a part of when we're a realtor.
Okay.
Okay. There's a National Association of Realtors, there's a Texas Association of Realtors, and then there's a Collin County Association of Realtors.
Okay.
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 So there's a lot of people there's a lot of places that we have to pay dues every year to stay a realtor.
Oh, wow. Okay, so what happens if you don't? So one, how did you know that you had to join all three of those associations? How did you know that
So
this was sort of the requirement?
So when you first get your license, what happens is you can't practice real estate until you're under a broker,
Okay.
okay? Because the license that we have is for a salesperson. It's not for a broker, right?
Okay.
So we have to have our license associated with a broker, and that broker is going to guide you and let you know, hey, to be a part of my brokerage, these are the memberships you need to carry. These, you need to have your E&O insurance. You need to have all of this other stuff intact,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So it's the broker's responsibility because in every single transaction that we do, yes, our name is associated with that client, but the contracts are written under the broker's name and us signing on behalf of the broker.
Okay.
So at
Okay.
the end of the day, it's the broker's liability on the line, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they make sure that we're part of the things we need to be a part of and run a good ethical business.
Okay. That actually helps a lot because I think oftentimes, like, and I think we'll get more into this later too, but I think it's like sometimes you're trying to figure out what is the role of the realtor, right? And it's
Hmm.
like, are they in it to close a deal quickly and move on, or what is their obligation to you finding that best deal? And I think
Right.
when you add that there's like a legal obligation
Hmm.
there, or that there's, I mean, it kind of creates like this automatic trust now that's good, because
Yep.
otherwise there is a little bit of distrust. You know what I mean? Otherwise there is like
Well,
this, why do I need you? Why are you here? Are you just here to collect some money? Can I do this without you? You know?
and that's the battle we fight day in and day out with the general public, because they don't understand that, when we sign an agreement to work together,
Yeah.
right, it is our legal responsibility to look out for your best interest,
Yeah.
whether we get paid whatever amount or not,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because we're committed to that. And that's what you're going to see. There's a lot of agents out there, and again, I'm not going to badmouth anyone,
Yeah.
but at the same time we need to talk about the realities of the industry, right? A lot of times real estate agents kind of get put into a certain category with shady practices and people
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and, and
Yeah.
the other occupations I'm talking about,
Yeah. There's that one that always stands out. I think it relates to
right?
like cars, you know?
Right, so something to do with cars, sometimes even people in the legal profession, I'm just kidding,
Oh,
right?
100%, 100,
Right.
100%.
So it's one of those things. There are a lot of agents out there that'll just start working with clients without doing any due diligence, because the bar to get into the real estate industry is very, very low, right?
What
The
is
bar is set very low.
sorry, not to cut you off, but like, what is the threshold to become real estate?
So you take some classes online. You can go to like Kaplan University or like Champions or whatever. Take your certain amount of hours. Take
Okay.
your state licensing exam, and boom, guess what? You're licensed to sell real estate. And those classes teach you nothing about the business or real. It's just legalities. Majority of the course that you take to get your license is all about your legal responsibilities, how to read contracts,
Okay.
what each contract says, stuff like that. It
Yeah.
teaches you nothing about the business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of like to go back to what I was talking about, when there are a lot of other agents that might just go out there and be like, okay, I'm going to start showing you homes. I'm going to start working with you, blah, blah, blah. What I do is I make sure each of my clients signs a buyer representation agreement with me
Okay.
for them to be able to work with me and for me to be able to work with them, because that commits both of us. That commits you to using me exclusively as your agent, and
Yeah.
it commits me to looking out for your best interest when we're shopping around.
Got it. Got it. So what happens? So I find you, I reach out to you and I say, hey, AK, I want to use you to go find some properties. The next step will be you'll send me that agreement and I'll say, okay, now I'm going to exclusively work with you. And is that contract that you've kind of created with your particular, is that sort of like a boilerplate contract? Is that sort of a standard operating contract, or is that
So
exclusive?
here's the thing. That contract is not just my contract. It's by the Texas Real Estate Commission.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So it's something we're all supposed to be using because it's made by the Texas Real Estate Commission. It's made by the
I don't think
entity
I've
that
used
gives us
that.
that license.
I haven't used that before. That's so funny. So
Yeah.
I think when I bought my home, I don't remember. I mean, maybe I signed it. Maybe I did sign something like that, but I don't remember signing that. So is that something that all realtors are doing, or is that
We're
something that I
we're
guess?
sup- the good ones are,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Right? The good ones are, because
Yeah.
here's the thing. We don't get paid until the transaction closes, right?
Okay.
So unless you're in a buyer representation agreement with your realtor or the realtor's in one with you, you could jump ship. You could have an agent work 20, 30, 40 hours showing you like 80 homes, and then you could just go with a friend as a
Yeah.
realtor, right? And
Yeah.
they can't really do anything about it, right?
Yeah.
So the buyer representation agreement, it protects us, because you can only, if you're under a buyer representation agreement with a realtor, you can't use any other realtor. They
Okay.
could use the other agent, because you could lose their license for trying to take you away from the original
Is
realtor.
that is that so how long does something like that last, that relationship? And does that apply to any property or in any location? What are sort of the limits to the contract there?
So part of the contract, it specifies the time. Usually, we'll do it for 3 to 6 months, because that's usually how long it takes to like find a home and close on a home and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then there's a protection period on it as well. So any properties that I show you while we're working together, you have to use me for. You
Yeah.
can't buy from another agent, or
Right.
else the other agent you could sell. You could buy from another agent, but
Yeah.
I'm going to sue them for my commission.
Right, right, exactly. And
Right.
I think that, but, and I think that I think a big part of what you've started to establish with the way you've kind of been moving forward is one, I've noticed a lot of transparency in the way that you move so that you're not like hiding a bunch of trade secrets. You know what I mean? I
Right.
think you're really open about what the job is, what the industry is. But I think in doing so, I think you create a lot of trust. So I think that seems to be a really important component in all of this. So can you kind of speak to how
Okay.
you're doing that, what the process is there to say, you can count on me to rely on me to find you the best deal. Can you kind of
Right.
walk me through that?
And one thing that I always do, even with a buyer representation agreement, right? Like I always tell my clients up front, hey, this is just while we're working together right now.
Yeah.
If you don't like the way I'm doing things, and if you're not happy with me, let me know. I'll let you out of that contract. I'm not gonna force you
Yeah,
to work with
yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
right? It's just that guess what? If I showed you a particular home that you were really interested in, and then you tell me you don't want to work with me,
Yeah,
right? Then we may have some issues because then go find another property. It's just that because I showed that one to you, I'm owed that compensation for putting in the work to find you that property, right?
right, right,
Because
right.
at the end of the day, I don't want to force anyone to work with me. It's just and because of and I hate to say this, but there's a lot of agents also in our industry, and should I get a little controversial right now?
Do it. Drop drop some bombs, dude.
Right? Especially in the Dixie community, right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of agents in the Dixie community that completely piss me off. Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And the reason they do that is because they're giving commission back to people
The
for working
kickbacks,
with
right?
them,
Yeah.
the kickbacks. And guess what? If the transaction is not costing that client a dollar, why
Yeah.
are you devaluing your own service and messing up the industry?
Right, 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 right.
Right.
So what do
So
you
I don't do that stuff. I
so,
don't do
okay, walk
cashbacks.
us
I
through
don't do
that.
any of
So,
that stuff.
okay, so provide some more context. So I guess the rule is as a buyer and as a seller, there's like a 3% commission, right? Is that the exact number? Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so the buyer's agent usually gets 3%. What people don't understand is out of that 3%, we pay our taxes, we pay our brokerage,
Yeah.
because they take a cut of our commissions. There's other expenses like,
Is that a
so
fixed amount, that brokerage fee? Is that fixed or does that vary depending on the
it
broker?
varies depending on the broker.
Okay.
It varies depending on the broker. Sometimes it's percentages, sometimes it's flat fees. There's a lot of variations to that.
Okay.
Right. So and then we end up with whatever we end up. So it's usually 3%. And then when you're listing a home, it's 6%. But then out of that 6%, 3% goes to the buyer's agent, right?
Yeah.
So even the listing agent only gets that 3%, even though the contract is for 6. And that's why a buyer doesn't pay for any of the services because the agent is collecting their commission from the listing side for bringing them a buyer.
Okay, got it. Got it. And
Yeah.
so are you required by law, before we get into the specifics of the kickback, are you required by law to, in Texas, to have a realtor or a real estate agent to sell or to purchase a property, a residential
No,
property? Is that the law?
no.
Okay.
You if you want to sell your home as a for sale by owner, you can go ahead and do that. But
Okay.
then you have to go through, the legal paperwork, do all of this
Right.
stuff
Right.
yourself,
Right.
right?
Right. So we'll get to the
So you don't
basics.
you don't yeah, you don't need to have a realtor to buy or sell a house, period.
Yeah.
Like you can do it on your own.
So
It's just you're going to be at a big disadvantage if you do.
right. So the value proposition we'll get into about why it is helpful to have a good real estate agent and what kind of how you evaluate that. So let's go back to the kickbacks because I think that's a
Right.
really interesting. That's an
It's
interesting
a
topic.
juicy topic, man, and I'm
Yeah,
not
I
I'm
mean,
not afraid to speak my mind on it.
right. So one, technically, it's illegal, right? So one, the practice is illegal. Is that correct, or is it
No,
legal?
the thing is it's it it's shady. It's not illegal.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
It falls into a gray area where you know it's not being enforced. It's not
Yeah.
Trek is okay with it
Okay.
depending on how you do it because
Who's what's Trek?
Trek is Texas Real Estate Commission.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
They're the ones that license us, right? Our license is a Texas Real Estate Commission license, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's one of those things that it's not it's yeah, I can't get into the legalities of it just because I'm not 100% sure, so I'm not going to speak
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair
But
enough.
it's just a very shady practice that I don't think should be there because before it got saturated with stuff like that,
Yeah.
no one had an issue. But then, yeah,
So the
they
way
said
it
something.
works is like I guess typically what'll end up happening is like so I mean I don't want to like I'm guilty of it, so
Hmm.
but I guess I'm not working with like the people that have kind of got thrown my way. I wasn't exactly like asking for. I didn't like. I was told some incorrect information too. So I think I dealt with a realtor where, and again, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus or whatever, but
Right.
my experience was okay with that particular person. But I do believe that there's tremendous value in a good one.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is, I guess typically what people will do is like when they end up buying the home, they'll carve out some agreement with the realtor to say like, give me some money back
Mm-hmm.
if I end up choosing you. Um,
Yeah.
you don't like that. You've noticed that, especially within the Desi community.
Yeah. I
So
just don't do it.
yeah,
And
and
that's the
so
thing. I
walk me
turn
through why.
clients away. Hmm?
Walk me through why you don't do it as a principal, and what benefits have you seen from not doing it in like your personal and the way that you operate your
And
business.
I'll give you some examples too, right? It's these are some recent deals. Like, number one, I bring way too much to the table.
Yeah,
Okay. When I represent you, I bring way too much to the table that a percent or two isn't going to be worth it.
yeah,
You know.
yeah,
And one of the and that's just because of my experience, what I can do with negotiating deals, the way I write up contracts. Because when you're purchasing a house, it's not just about the price that you offer on the house. It's about the other terms you put in that contract that are going to be favorable to the seller, that they'll pick you in a multiple offer situation. I've had situations where we've been in a multiple offer situation for my buyers where the sellers had about 20, 25 offers and we've won out.
that's
Okay.
crazy. Yeah, that's
Right.
crazy. Yeah.
And then going back to the whole cashback thing, like I just closed this one deal in Lantana a couple of months ago, and it was a new construction home. Okay.
Wait,
And a
where
lot of people are like,
Lantana? Is that in
Lantana.
Dallas?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Oh,
it's
no.
it's
Okay.
it's northwest of like Louisville and stuff.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. Learned
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
new.
It's out there, but
Okay.
beautiful neighborhoods, great city, right? So it was a new construction home. My clients wanted this new construction home that was priced at, I think it was priced at like four 480 or 490.
Hmm.
Okay. If they had one of those cashback realtors that was giving them a percent or percent and a half back, right? Say rough figure $500,000, right?
Yeah,
They would have saved what, like $7,500,
that's right.
right?
Yeah.
I got them that house for 450.
So you shaved
That
off more than the amount that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. I see what you're
right.
saying.
You,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
see what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, just because I'm not giving that cash back, I can get better deals just because of the leverage that I have with a lot of builders because of how long I've been doing this. That the
Yeah.
builders want me to keep bringing them more customers. So
Yeah.
guess what? The deals I'm able to get them, some of the newbies that are just attracting business because of their value prop of I'll give you money back,
Yeah.
they
Yeah. Yeah.
can't do that. They don't have that leverage.
Wait, that's a good point. So I never thought about that. So, okay, how do I know if a realtor has experience with the builder that I'm trying to potentially, like, let's say I'm interested in. So say I like Perry Homes as a builder, or say I like
Hmm.
whatever, right? So whoever that David Weekley or something, right? So
Hmm.
say I like that builder. How do I know that you've got that relationship with that builder? Is there a way for me to know that beforehand by any chance, or do I have to
You
only?
don't. You have to listen to the agent, kind of believe whatever they're telling you, right?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
there's no way to research that stuff offhand,
Okay.
right?
Is that something that you should look for though in a realtor when you're trying to form that relationship with them? I'm sure there's a lot of things that you can probably go down your checklist of picking the right person for you. But is
Hmm.
that one of those things that you should be considering? And is that higher on the list or lower on the
Yeah,
list?
one of the things, like, it's just not just how long they've been in business, how many transactions do they consistently do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there are a lot of part timers in this business too that have been around forever, but they only maybe do like one or two deals a year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. For
The
sure.
the the, the average, you know how many real estate agents there are in DFW, dude?
No, how many?
A little over 20,000.
Why?
Yeah,
It's so
right.
many. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. That's crazy.
but how many are actually practicing? Because there are a lot of people that are like, oh, let me try this on the weekends. Let
Yeah.
me do
Yeah.
the right.
Yeah.
I'll show homes in the evenings. But guess what? When a transaction's happening, man, you need to be available 24/7. Doesn't matter if you're working or not, right?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
so
So
when
I
you're
guess.
picking out,
Yeah.
yeah. So when you're picking out an agent, not just the experience. There are some new guys that are killing it too, that are great, just
Yeah.
because they've got skill sets that are, not related to real estate, but they can use those skills to get you good deals,
Yeah.
right? So it's
So yeah.
a
No.
lot of times, yeah. So you just got to get a feel for it, right? It's like there's one deal that I just closed last month where, you know, and this is gonna come from a point of a little bit of an ego, okay? And that's just
Do it. Do
for
it, man.
okay, that's just for like entertainment purposes, right?
Yeah.
So I met with these clients, a young couple, really nice people, right? And then they're after we had our initial meeting, they're like, well, we're going to be interviewing a couple of other agents too. Dude, I kid you not, like laugh, like
Yeah.
the laughter just came out. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
go do your due diligence, go interview
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I kid you not. 5 days later, I get a call from them saying, yeah, we talked to some of the other agents. We want to go with you. I'm like, cool, awesome, let's do this, right?
Yeah, you kind of already knew that that was going to happen. Chances are you already like. I think there's something about like when you have a good meeting or a good conversation. If you typically know when you've already landed that client, right? I
Yeah,
mean, it's
yeah,
probably rare where you have like a great conversation and then you don't, unless the person decides maybe not to buy or maybe not move forward with something. But I think
yeah,
establishing that connection, that relationship, really early on in that process, and when you know that you've like landed them,
absolutely.
that's a really good thing to do. Even if you
And
don't.
this kind of translates to all industries, right? It's not, it's also about your confidence when you're meeting with them,
Yeah.
right? And people can sense lack of confidence, and they can sense desperation. If you're desperate for a deal,
Yeah. Yeah.
right, guess
Yeah.
what, they're going to smell that a mile away, and they'll be like, man, I don't know if I should go with him just because he's just trying really really hard to land us as a client, right?
Right. Right.
And
Right.
like I feel blessed where, you know, my pipeline stays fairly full and busy, where, you know, if someone wants to go with another agent, dude, no, my feelings don't
That's
get hurt. It's part of business. I've been doing this long enough where I'm like, you know, you lose deals, everyone loses deals, like, you know,
right.
you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, right? Especially
Right.
in a real estate transaction when everything is so personal, you really got to be able to get along with people,
Yeah. No, for
right?
sure. For sure. And I think that's a really good point. So I guess to kind of transition from, I guess, forming that relationship, maybe the steps that lead up to that. So
Yeah.
say I'm a buyer or say I'm a seller. So maybe let's take the role of maybe like a buyer, right? So
Okay.
I decide I've been living in my apartment now and I want to, let's say, upgrade and I want to maybe, let's say, move into my first house, right? Or with my spouse or whatever, right?
Okay.
What should I do first? Like what should be the sort of the incremental steps that I should be taking to sort of from basically saying I want to buy a home to actually signing the deal? What are the steps that most buyers should probably go through in your
Okay,
opinion?
so first step is always to talk to a lender to see how much you can afford, and if
Yeah.
you're actually ready to buy a house or not.
Okay.
Because there's no need looking at homes, and if you're not going to be able to buy one,
Okay. So
right?
go to the bank first, right? And I guess you
And
should
don't
go.
go to the bank.
Okay.
And don't go to the bank.
Don't go to the bank.
Man, dude, big banks are horrible to work with when it comes to home loans.
Oh,
Okay?
really?
Yeah.
So which bank should you be going to? Like the
So
community?
so the best thing to do, find a good realtor.
Okay.
Okay?
And how do I do
Talk
that?
to the,
How do I do that?
right?
So let's say, okay, now I'm like, so I'm thinking, right? So like, okay, I want to buy a home. One, I'm going to start to maybe figure out my budget internally, right? So I kind of should have
Yeah.
some understanding of maybe how much I think I want to spend, right? Then
Right.
you're saying go find a realtor, right? So in
Yeah,
this
so
case,
find
realtor side.
so find a realtor. So basically find me,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Right? And then ask your realtor, hey, who are your preferred lenders, right? Who has done good work for your past clients? Who do you think is reputable and has done well? Because guess what? You as a consumer may not know you might be able to get a better deal with a mortgage lender that's not a bank and just a servicer and a or loan originator
Okay.
than going to a big bank. Okay?
Okay.
Because
So,
to a big bank, like for instance, like Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, a lot of these big banks, you may just end up being a number because there are going to be so many uh different places that you're going to be going for a loan within that same bank. You're going to keep being passed on to the next person as your process goes on. But
okay.
when
So
you're dealing with a
between
smaller
a,
mortgage lender, yeah, go ahead.
okay. So between a good lender and a bad lender. So I guess this is kind of what we're getting into, right? So like, how do you
Yeah.
know so a good lender, bad lender? I guess the first baseline would be your interest rate, right? So it's like the first interest rate and the amount that you would potentially get approved for. But
In its interest rate, closing costs, their loan origination fees. Each lender is going to have various fees.
okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
it's not always the interest rate that's going to be the best deal.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
some of it is going to be interest. It's going to be the origination fees, like I mentioned, all of that stuff, and also their ability to close a file on time. Because guess what? If you can't close a loan on time and there are delays based on that, the buyer may get penalized from the seller for extending the contract.
Okay.
Okay. So
Interesting.
you want to make sure that the lender that you're working with has the reputation of basically delivering the timeline they're promising that they're going to be able to deliver. Right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
each good realtor will have a handful of lenders that they've done numerous deals with in the past that they've referred clients to that they've been happy with, right?
Okay, I see.
So when you talk to your realtor, they'll be able to guide you to the right person and then shop around, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
once you talk to the preferred lender of the realtor, then you have a baseline to compare big banks to. You have, you can go online and you can search those things, right?
yeah, like Rocket Mortgage or something like that, and see what
Right.
potential would exist or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, and that's how the process starts. So once you have a pre-approval, and there's a big difference, right? When you talk to a lender, some people can qualify you over the phone by asking you a couple of questions. So there's a big difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval.
Yeah, good
Make
luck
sure
with
you
that.
get
What is
pre
that going to do for you? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right,
Right.
right. So get pre-approved, because especially in the Dallas market, things are still hot, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Even with the coronavirus stuff going on, homes are selling like crazy. Okay.
Are they selling for a discounted rate right now, or are they still selling for what you think would be like a fair market value? What do you think?
Depending on the price point. The
Okay.
higher price points above $400,000, they've slowed down a little bit and they're more open to negotiations.
Okay.
Things that are like in the 250, 300, like the things that are like for first-time home buyers, they're still hot. I've got like, this happened just this morning. Like, I've got a client moving here from Chicago.
Okay.
They liked the house last week. We put in an offer on it, right? We put in an offer $10,000 above ask price, and they still had higher offers than that.
That's
Okay.
crazy.
So
So
like that's
did
that's
they
the
did they
max.
purposely price it that way? Did they purposely price it low so that it'd be a competition to I guess kind of let the market kind of dictate the higher price point, so that everyone's kind of bidding up? Is that like a deliberate practice that they might have done, you think, or is that
It
just
it it
happenstance?
depends. It depends. This was a very well kept property,
Oh,
you
okay.
know. So
Okay.
it was priced on point, but the
Yeah.
demand just outweighed the supply right now, right?
Okay.
And then with that same client, this morning we found another home. I contacted the listing agent, be like, "Hey, we're interested in doing a virtual tour for this home." He's like, "Sorry, we just went under contract 2 hours ago."
Oh,
Right?
that sucks. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
things are still like moving along very quickly. So
Yeah.
that's why a pre-approval is going to be so much more important than a pre-qualification, because when you submit an offer for a house, you're going
Yeah.
to submit it with a pre-approval, and the pre-approval basically means that the lender has also checked your credit, verified some of your income,
Yeah.
right? So they know that you're solid enough. So when
Okay.
you're talking to a lender, get a pre-approval, don't go with a pre-qualification.
Okay, so I get that. So I go to my lender, or I contact my realtor, see if he has any preferred lenders. Then from there, I check their rates, and I maybe check it against what's online, maybe check it against some of the big banks to see what's going to be out there. Will I know what the origination fees and all the other various fees, like the closing fees that are the closing costs that are sort of associated? Do I know that up front between
They should,
the?
yeah, if you ask them, they should be able to tell you.
Okay, so then
And
that's
and
another
and
thing to factor in, right? So yeah,
and,
okay,
and here's a pro tip, right? Here's a pro tip. Talk to the local lenders,
yeah,
then go online to see what kind of rates you can get. If you get a better rate online, go back to the local lender.
yeah,
Most of the time, they're going to be able to match it.
yeah, yeah.
And it's always better to use a local lender than to use a national one that you found online. I've had some experiences with some of the online lenders,
Yeah.
and there've been some of the tougher transactions to go through.
Okay, that's a
So
that's a
it's
really good one. That's a really good one to keep in mind. I did the same thing actually for mine. So for ours, we ended up going to we had the preferred lender through the builder.
mhm,
They had a preferred lender, and then I had a relationship with somebody at Chase for a long time. So for some reason, in this case, Chase actually came out a little bit lower
okay.
their interest rate, but then these guys ended up beating it because we told them they had to beat it, that you
Yep.
couldn't, and then they ended up beating it. So and that's not
Yeah.
something I think most people think about. Like I don't think you realize you
Okay.
can price shop interest rates. Like this is
Oh
something,
yeah.
or fees and all that stuff. So you should be doing that. So the next phase, right? So I then decide, I figure out my budget. I talk to my realtor, and then my realtor's probably going to also give me information about location and cities and things.
Mhm.
Within the city, is that sort of a fair statement? Do you think most would be able to
Yeah.
provide good
Yeah. So
fees?
what I usually do is I go through a little questionnaire with my clients, right? Like, hey, what are you looking for? Like, what are your needs? What are your wants? Right?
Yeah,
And then once they tell me the kind of lifestyle that they want to live, if they have kids or not,
party. Let's
what's important,
go.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
All of that stuff. And then basically it's like, okay, then we as realtors, then we come up with suggestions on, okay, these areas in these particular neighborhoods will probably be good for you, right? And then we kind of start narrowing it down. What I like to do is I start off wide and then I get narrow. I'll
Okay.
send out a bunch of different listings to my clients, and then I'll wait for them to give me some feedback. Okay, I like this type of a living room. I like these colors. right?
Okay. And this is
Because
all
this way,
digital, right? So this is all via
yeah,
email that you're kind of
yeah,
doing this, where you're kind of showing them the listings that, and you find the listings through sort of your own, like your own network, right? So I think it's like
right.
MLS, I think is what it's called for,
MLS, yeah,
and
yeah.
that gives you like first access and first rights into the existing properties that maybe don't make it to something like Zillow or HAR or whatever's out there, right?
Right. So Zillow is like, man, we have a joke. It's called the A in Zillow's for accuracy. Okay.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Um, so there are websites like realtor.com and stuff like that that also get a direct feed from the MLS. So as soon as we see it, you can see it on realtor.com.
Okay.
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 Zillow's a little bit delayed, so some of the data on there is a little bit older. Okay.
Okay.
But there's things that we get to see in our system that the public does not get to see, because
Okay.
there's areas for private remarks that the listing agent puts in there that we have access to. We
Okay.
know exactly how many times that house may have gone under contract and fallen through or not, so we can do some research on some
That's
of that
really
stuff.
good, because that's like that'll save you an additional trip. And I think that's the other thing that people don't realize is that, like, man, buying a home can be exhausting if you're going to go physically look at all of the things that you
Oh
might be.
yeah.
And especially if you're casting like that wide net also. I mean, it's like, so I'm in Houston now, but even if I was in Dallas, and even when I was in Dallas, it's like I mean, you're talking about like a
Mhm.
45-mile radius, and that, I mean, in every listing and every home will take you a few hours, maybe like an hour to look at approximately, right? So you're from end to end when you're kind of evaluating the property. That's
Yeah.
exhausting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if you've got multiple properties and you're kind of all over the place. So I think you sending that digital like reference in that format early on, based on what you think the customer might be interested in or your client might be interested in, is probably really helpful.
Yeah.
So they then tell you, they evaluate that, and they say, okay, like this is kind of what I like, this is what I'm looking for. And then what happens next?
And then basically we keep narrowing down the search until we pinpoint a few properties, like maybe 3 to 4 properties that we're actually going to go take a look at on the first day,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So when we, and I always keep it to less than 6 homes. Whenever we go show homes, I keep it to less than 6, because if you look at more than 6 homes
They
in one day,
all
they're
big
gonna get
one.
scrambled
You
up
don't
in your
even know
head,
what the hell
and
you
when you
looked at.
go
Yeah.
home,
Yeah.
you're not gonna know which living room belonged to which house in
Yeah.
which neighborhood.
Or you start liking a little bit of every
Yeah,
house, and you're like, there's
yeah.
no perfect house. And then you get
And
screwed from that too. Yeah.
and one thing that's also very important to say is, I always joke around with this with my clients. It's like finding a house is like finding your spouse.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you found
Yeah.
80% of what you're looking for, you're winning.
Yeah, unless it's like an arranged
Yeah,
marriage, you know what I
yeah.
mean? Then it's like your parents are telling you to move in with them or move down the street, you
Yeah.
know?
Hey, and now people are buying homes virtually without even looking at it. So boom,
Right. Right. Yeah, you're right. That's a good analogy, man. Good analogy.
right? So we narrow it down. We go look at homes. If they like any of those homes, you give it a little bit of thought, because depending on the price point in the Dallas market, there's no time to even think. You either make the offer or someone's gonna beat you to it, right?
Yeah.
It's like there's another joke that I like to circulate all the time. It's like, you know what? If you're gonna sleep on it, you might not sleep in it,
Yeah, fair enough.
right?
That's
So
fair. Because
sometimes,
you'll lose it, right? Yeah. Yeah.
because you never know, and this has happened multiple times where someone will be like, man, this house has been on the market 60 days. I just need a couple of days to think about it. It's not like someone's going to buy it. But guess what? Just like you looked at it after 60 days, maybe someone 5 minutes after you left looked at it after 60 days,
Yeah.
right? And they might have wanted it.
So
So
my
you
house,
just
yeah, when I bought mine, I bought it that day because I'd been already
yeah,
looking for 6 months. Like, and
yeah,
I looked 2 years earlier too, and I thought I was ready to buy, and then I was like, no, I'm not. And then I ended up moving to an apartment, and like I
mhm,
wanted like a high rise. I'm from New York originally, right? So like I lived in New
right,
York for a long time, so I wanted like the high rise space. So I'm like, you know what? Forget the house right now. Let's just go find an apartment. So I
yeah,
bailed on the house then, but I'd done a ton of research, and then 2 years later started the research process again. And then once I saw the house that I liked, I mean, we bought it that day. Like literally like that. I came in at like 5 p.m. The next morning at 9, I had the check. Like I think there's like a
yeah,
cashier's check is what they require or whatever. I guess we'll get
yeah.
into it too. So you narrow it down. You show them about no more than 6 max, right?
Right. At,
Um,
at, at a time, yeah. So
yeah.
if they didn't like any of them, then we'll go out again in a few days when there's more homes to look at.
Okay. Okay.
And then yeah, we'll do 6 at a time usually, or less. Yeah.
Okay. And are you in this process when you're kind of showing them homes, are you differentiating between, because I'm sure they're giving you some feedback to on what they
Hmm.
probably might like, right? So are you differentiating between like existing homes, inventory homes, and like brand new construction? Are you kind of
Correct.
breaking down those three? Are you offering all three of those, or are you
Yeah.
figuring out what?
Yes. So we're looking at all three, even from the get go, right? And one thing, depending on the value and just how specific a client wants their home to be,
Yeah.
right? It's great to get new builds, but it's always you'll always get a better deal getting an inventory home than it is doing the brand
Inventory
new
is,
construction.
can you define what an inventory home is too, just in case someone doesn't know?
Yeah. So an inventory home is basically something that the builder has already built or it's about to be ready
Okay.
that doesn't have a buyer yet. Because a lot of builders, what they'll do is they'll when they open up a subdivision, they'll start building homes without taking any orders. Those are going to become inventory homes because they're already going to select their upgrades, this, that, and all of that stuff. So you're
Okay.
going to be able to get a better deal on those because once the house is complete, the builder is going to need to carry those costs, right, until it
Right.
sells. So they'll
Right.
offer better deals on those.
So
If you're
they're just
buying from,
confident that that the house will sell. That they're
yeah,
just so confident. They just said, "Hey, we're just going to put something here. We own this land already. We're going to start construction now. We don't care that there isn't a buyer yet, or that someone's coming in to say, you know, we want to do a brand new construction here. We're going to do like 80 to 90%, or maybe 100% of the home, and
yeah,
throughout the process, somebody will come in and buy it."
exactly, exactly. So when they do that, they know that they're putting in the things that their research has shown is going to sell, right? And this way they don't want to waste time just sitting on that land either because building a house is going to take about like 90 to 120 days,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So when it takes 3 to 4 months to build a house, guess what? They're just going to start cranking these out,
Yeah.
while other people that want specific things in their house will come and actually custom build their home.
Okay. Okay.
When you start doing that, the price goes up so much more and you can get such a better deal buying an inventory home because yeah, so the wood floors are a different color or the
Yeah. Yeah.
cabinets are a different color, right? It's like
Yeah.
those things can get changed later on if you're saving a ton of money up front,
Right.
right?
Right.
So when
Do
we
you
when we
think
narrow down the searches, we look at all.
Okay, so but do you think that for those people that are doing those new build constructions, so do you think that would be for somebody that's maybe trying to build a forever home? Is that like maybe the ideal person that should be trying to do new construction, or is it just really? I mean, if you have the money and you want it and you're very specific, then just go for it.
Yeah, it's also a lot of people that can't find what they're looking for in either the pre-owned or the inventory. They're like,
Yeah.
we must have this,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
They're gonna go for that option.
Okay, got it. Got it. So you're going to present to a client basically all three options, and you're going to kind of run through the pros and cons of each. So with the inventory home, I guess it's the fact that it may not be exactly what you're looking for because a lot of it already comes pre-built.
Yeah.
With the new build, I guess it's going to be a little bit more expensive because of the fact that you're having to kind of tell the builder what you want, and they're kind of custom making it for you. Or custom making it to the extent that they can customize it. Right? Most homes have like a right? So,
Right.
and then on the existing homes. So I guess what are the pros and cons of maybe an existing home?
So existing homes, a lot of times, depending on if you're looking for a newer home,
Yeah.
most likely in that same neighborhood, there are probably a couple of existing homes that are available for sale too, because people's jobs change,
Yeah.
things happen, all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Or within the neighborhoods nearby. So the house might be 2 years old compared to completely brand new, but because they're competing with brand new homes, you're
Yeah.
gonna get a
Yeah.
better deal on those.
Yeah, it's like almost like buying a car like a year, literally like a few thousand miles on it versus the brand new car.
Right.
You're shaving off a ton of money doing that too, right? So
Yep.
versus going with the new construction, right?
And even if the home is older, so here's one thing that ends up being a little bit misunderstood, right? Dallas and Texas land will always have foundation issues, okay, just
Okay.
because of the way the soil is,
Okay.
okay. And usually foundation issues start happening to homes in around 10 to 12 years, okay,
Okay. Okay.
on average. So a lot of times people may look at a home built in 2000 2005 and be like, oh, it's 15 years old, I don't know. Has it had foundation issues? Like, yeah, and it's been fixed. And sometimes people are like, it's already had foundation issues. Guess what? It works in your favor because someone else paid to get it fixed. This way, you don't have to pay to get it fixed. And
Okay.
a lot, and most foundation companies will give a lifetime transferable warranty with their work. So guess what?
Okay.
You get to buy a house that's already had that work done, and you have
Yeah.
a lifetime transferable warranty in case of
You
the
don't
same
get
issue
that
happens again.
warranty. You don't get that warranty on a brand new home for if in the event that you're buying a brand new or an inventory home that warranty doesn't carry over.
You get a 10-year warranty with the builder. Most builders
Ah,
will offer a 10-year foundation warranty because they know in about 10 to 12 years you're going to have issues, but the first 10
they're
years are
hoping for
covered,
12. Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
The
yeah.
first 10 years are going to be covered in case if anything happens before then, right?
Okay.
But it's not going to be a lifetime warranty.
Okay.
So,
Got it. Got it. Got
but
it.
so with the older homes, people might think, oh, this house has had foundation work done. That's not a good home. No, that actually works to your benefit because you don't have to worry about paying that money,
Okay.
right? When
Okay.
that issue eventually happens, because it will. It's not a matter of if, but when.
That's a really good point. I'm glad I've like kind of stored that in. So I guess and I'm like jumping from topic. We still have to get back to like the
Yeah.
step by step, but is there a sweet spot then if you're trying to sell your own existing home, like at like a certain number of years, if you know you're not going to live in the home forever,
Mm-hmm.
do you recommend trying to time it based on when you predict the home may start to kind of fall off or maybe lose most of its value? Or do you think just move when you're ready to move? Kind of what would you
Well, so if if you're worried more about finances, time it. If not, it's do what you're comfortable with, right? It's
so
like
walk me through
you
the
can't force
timing.
yourself to live in a house for like an extra 5 years.
Right. So like let's say I wanted to time it. So what would be like the sweet spot in saying now I'm ready to sell my home. It's going to retain the most value, or I might be able to see an uptick in value, and this is the best price point that I'll be able to sell it for.
So
Like what?
when you're looking at new construction homes, say you bought a brand new house, right? In my professional opinion, 5 to 7 years.
5 to 7. Okay.
Okay, because in 5 to 7 years, what's going to happen is if you bought a house in a new subdivision, they'll be done with the construction in that place. So all the deals are going to be gone.
Yeah.
The homes are going to start appreciating somewhat because the demand is still going to be there, but the supply won't,
Right.
right?
Right.
Your home is still going to be newish enough for
Yeah.
buyers to buy, right? And because they can't buy any more new construction, your home value is going to start going up. It's just supply and demand, right?
Okay. So
And
that's
within that
one
five,
good point. Okay, that's a good point.
and
So wait for the build out to be completed in your little in your subdivision.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, don't do it while it's actually happening. It's not going to
oh
be
yeah.
okay.
Because then guess what? Why would someone buy a 4-year-old house for $400,000 when they can buy a brand new one for 410?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
You're right. You're right.
Right.
Yeah.
So and then in that 5 to 7 year period, you're going to see some property appreciation value. The warranties that the company is giving you, like the foundation warranty, that's still going to have enough power left in it
Got
for
it.
the buyers to see value in that, right?
Okay.
So usually 5 to 7, and that's what I recommend a lot of my investor clients too, because I've got a lot of people that invest in homes here in DFW. And I recommend for people to buy new construction homes as investment properties too, because guess what? You can leverage your money every 5 to 7 years and multiply that into multiple properties using the initial cash that you started with.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good point. So okay. So let's get back to the step by step. Okay, so you
Yeah.
are now at the point where you've presented the properties, and let's say they now finally like one.
Mm-hmm.
During this time, since then, they've already had that conversation with you about lending practices and about who the best lender would be. They've already secured a pre-approval,
Mm-hmm.
and then now you go talk to the builder. And what is that process like? And then how do you get to close?
Yeah. So basically, so depending on if it's an existing home or a new sale, right? The process is very similar. You go into either the builder to make an offer on the house,
Yeah.
or you submit an offer to the seller's listing agent, right? So the process kind of becomes a little bit different once the offer is accepted. Okay.
Okay.
With the builder, they're in a lot more control than if you're buying a pre-existing home with someone else. Okay. Because what's gonna happen is when you're buying an existing home, you're gonna cut two checks, one for earnest money, one for an option fee. That's gonna be written when your offer gets accepted. And
Okay.
that option fee is for that option period where basically they're putting the house under contract so you can do your due diligence of getting the home inspection done.
Okay.
Okay. So once you get the home inspection done, you get to renegotiate either the price of the house or the concessions and the seller is going to give you to pay for the repairs that need to be done.
Because there's always going to be some sort of repairs,
There's
right?
always going to be something.
Find
Yeah.
something that's not right with
Yeah.
it.
It may be minor, but there's going to be something, right?
Okay.
And so the buyer still has the option to back out during the option period and only lose the option fee. They'll get the refund of their earnest money back. Okay.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah.
And the option fee is based off of the value of that house too. It's very small. So for instance, majority of the homes here are around like $300,000-$400,000, right?
Yeah.
So in a market like that, your option fee might be like $200, $150, $200.
Oh,
So
that's
you lose that. You
yeah,
lose
yeah,
that
yeah.
if you decide to not move forward with the house.
Versus your earnest money, which is like what, 10%,
It's
6%?
like it's 1%.
Oh, it's
Okay,
1%. Okay, but
it's
that's
one
still like
percent. That's
$4,000.
still $4,000.
Yeah.
So if you back out during the option period, right, you get your earnest money refunded back to you. You just lose the option fee. right?
Got it.
But you have that option period to do your due diligence to make sure the house is in good shape, good condition. There's nothing majorly wrong with it, all of that stuff, right?
Okay.
Once that process happens, once you're out of the option period, that you've come to an agreement with the seller, being like, okay, they're going to repair this or they're going to pay you this much for the repairs. At that point, that's when I would recommend. That's when the lender goes out and orders an appraisal for the property. Okay, because the appraisal is going to cost the buyer too.
Okay.
Don't get an appraisal done until you're out of the option period and you know that you want this house. Because
Okay.
if the lender orders the appraisal too early, they're going to bill you for it and you're going to back out of the house. That's another like $400 you're out.
Right. Right. Right.
Okay?
Right.
And then once you're out of the option period, the appraisal comes in good. You're basically just waiting for the closing date, and that's it.
Okay. Okay. So then you have your closing date at that point. And in this process, like as a good realtor is going to be the one helping you kind of tell, it's probably going to be telling you what the offer prices should be, kind of helping you
Mhm.
figure out what your bid ranges should look like, what would be a good offer, what would be a bad offer. Generally, in your opinion, kind of from like on a, let's say on an existing property, if you're going to go in and buy it, how
Mhm.
much under should you come under? What should your offer amount be less than the asking price for in a
It
typical
it
environment?
shouldn't. It depends. So what I usually do is I run the comps for that area.
Okay.
Okay. I run the comps for the area to see, okay, what's actually the market value of this house? They have it listed at a certain price. Is it really worth that much from the past sales, right? Because you and I don't get to decide the price, the market decides the price,
I see.
right? So if the house is priced well that and the comps support it,
Okay.
you got to go in and you don't lowball it. Don't offer anything less, right?
Yeah.
Offer full asking price or even a little bit above, just depending on how much competition there's going to be for that house,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
If a house has been on the market, say 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, right? And it's still priced the same, then yeah, then you go in a lot lower, right?
Okay. That's a good.
But
That's
you
a good.
still,
That's a good thing to keep in mind. It's a good little hack to keep in mind when you're going to go in.
yeah. But if a house just hit the market on Friday and you're making an offer on Sunday, don't
Yeah.
insult the seller, don't insult your agent,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? By saying, hey, I want to offer $20,000 below what it's worth. No, it's been on the market 2 days. Like
Right. Right. Right.
you don't want to start off on the back foot with the seller,
So that's
because
that's
guess
fun,
what?
man. I don't do Daisies follow that advice? I don't believe that because I
Hell
feel
no.
like, dude, my in-laws, dude, my in-laws are so funny. They're like, "Okay, the house is going for 450. I think we're gonna go offer 350." And I'm like,
Yeah.
let's see what happens. Fuck it. You know, like I mean,
Yeah.
that's the approach that I think a lot of Daisies have is we're gonna come real
Yeah.
low. So I mean, how do you
It's
kind of tackle that?
and you can't and that's where your relationship with your realtor comes in, right? Because your realtor is gonna tell you what's up. Like, I'm sorry, I don't have time. Even dude, I can write up an offer in probably like 45 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I'm not gonna waste 45 minutes of my
yeah.
time writing an offer I know is not gonna work.
Right, right, right. Oh, and it's
Right.
by the way, it's a written offer like that. It's not a because I think when we did it, it was a verbal conversation with the builder. Is
Well,
that
yeah, because with the builder it works differently. You're gonna be like, hey, I want it for this much. If they agree to it, then they'll drop the contract for you to sign, right?
exactly? Yeah, yeah,
When
yeah.
you're doing it on a pre-existing home, right? It's a written offer. You come up with all the terms like earnest money,
Okay,
option fee,
okay.
like all of that other stuff, like closing date, all of that stuff, right? And
Yeah,
then the buyer signs it, and then you submit it to the listing agent. So it's a signed offer. So guess what? If the seller likes it, they sign off and it's executed.
okay. Okay. So that's
Okay.
again I'm learning quite a bit because like I said, I just bought a house maybe like a little over a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So I think for me I think a lot of people will find this really useful. Like the steps
Yeah.
to buying a home, why having a good realtor is like involved and having them sort of involved early on in the process rather than so late in the process. I think that's the
Absolutely.
other thing too. I think a lot of people maybe involve them so late in the process that you feel like, wait, where's the value at? That's what
And
happened to me. So
here's the thing. The process with a new construction or an inventory home and buying a pre-existing home, it makes a big the process is very different.
yeah.
So even if you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna go look at this inventory home and I'll get a realtor later, right?
Uh-huh.
A lot of builders won't allow that.
Okay.
Okay. So excuse me. So if you just go visit with a sales rep at the builder's office, they'll have you register in and be like, hey, what's your name, contact information? Are you represented by a realtor? You're like, nah, I'm not. And then later you're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to use a realtor.
Yeah.
Because you've already registered with them or
Yeah.
gone to look at the house without a realtor.
Yeah.
Guess what? you're shit out of luck.
Yeah, you're
You're
barred
not going
from
to be
the
able to get representation because they will not allow your realtor to talk on your behalf anymore.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
where they get that edge.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, I just posted a video about new construction stuff and things to be aware
I
of like
saw that. I
yesterday.
didn't get a chance to see the video yet. I was gonna show everybody your page in a few seconds, but yeah, I saw the video and I was like, oh, this looks like really good timing because I wanted
Yeah.
to because I was gonna ask you about new construction anyway. So yeah, if you
Yeah.
wanted to maybe touch some points on that, yeah.
Yeah. So with that, once you're with the builder's sales rep, guess what? It's their job to represent the builder, not you as a buyer, right? So once they lock you in like that with your registration info, guess what? You can't use a realtor at that builder. You're done. So
Okay.
always find a realtor first before you even start just browsing for homes,
Okay. And
because
how
you
do
don't
you
want to run into
find
that
one?
situation. Hmm?
I guess how do you find a realtor? I mean, how do you know what a good realtor is and how do you find them?
Yeah, the best way to find a great realtor is to go to this website. It's called www.theakrealtygroup.com.
Hold up. I think I got it. Hold on. Let me see. I think I got it up right now. Give me one sec. Give me
Okay.
one sec. Is this it right here? Am I looking at it? Oh,
Right. Yeah.
can you see my screen right now? Yeah. So I
Yeah,
think
I
it's
do. Yeah.
okay. Cool. Is this the one?
Yeah. So that's the best place to find a website because to find a realtor, because guess what? He's on there.
No, fair enough. And what about if I'm doing something outside of, let's say if I'm doing something outside of the Dallas area? In the Dallas area, there's no doubt about it. You're the guy.
Yeah.
What if we're in like the
So
Houston, San Antonio, Austin
yeah.
area?
So anywhere outside. So number one, get online, get on, realtor.com, Zillow, you can
Okay.
find realtors on there with some ratings and stuff to get some reviews. The funny thing is I'm not much into like reviews and stuff. So I rarely ask my clients for reviews until they just like voluntarily just want to do them and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's good to YouTube's been great to find good realtors, right?
Okay.
Find people that are experts in your area that are putting out content,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Because you'll be able to tell by their vibe, their look, their feel that if they know what they're talking about, because it's hard to be fake on video.
Yeah. 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 For
Easy
sure.
to be fake on paper. Like
Yeah.
you can write reviews,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's hard to fake it when someone's like actually watching you, right?
Right. 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 Right.
So and then the funny thing is, anytime you contact a realtor, the first thing that they're supposed to do is send you an IABS. It's the information about brokerage services.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And the IABS will have their license number on it. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So here's a weird hack about that. The lower the number, the more experience they have, because it goes in numerical order from the time they got licensed.
So the smaller the digit, basically, the better
Right.
you are. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So you can look at like two agents and be like, this guy has been around a lot longer than this guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
But then I think you had said also that you got to factor in like how active of a realtor you are too, right? So how
yeah.
do you know how active you are if
And you
I'm
can ask them. So when you call up an agent, you can literally just you are interviewing them, right? Because they're going to be working for you,
yeah,
right? So you can ask them, hey, how many deals do you do a year? Like,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
they can run reports out of Netris and send them to you that these are the homes that I've sold, or these are the homes that I've helped purchase. You can ask for references, stuff like that,
Okay,
right?
cool. That's I think another really good point too, for sure. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that'd be really helpful. I think when you're trying to evaluate, because there's a million, like you said, there's 20,000 realtors. I mean, I
Hmm.
wouldn't have known that, but there's 20,000 realtors in your area. I mean, that's
Hmm.
hyper competitive.
It's huge, but the top producing ones, like we're maybe about 5 to 10% are actually producing,
Okay,
you
okay.
know,
Yeah, it's
and
like the
DFW is a
80/20
big.
rule, right? It's always like the 20% are generally accounting for about
Yeah.
80% of revenue. 20% of the
Yeah.
work of that workforce is probably accounting for 80% of the sales in that area.
Yeah. So very, very similar in this stuff too. So it's, and again, have an open conversation with whoever you're interviewing as your realtor, right? Because buying a home is one of the most stressful processes, and it's one of the biggest purchases you're ever going to make in your life, right? So you want to make sure you get along with the person that's working with you on this, and also someone that you can trust. And trust, and the likeness factor, like know, like, and trust you, right?
Yeah,
That's hard to see unless you actually connect with that person and have some conversations with them,
yeah.
right?
No, for
Because
sure.
dude, as human beings, we have a great BS detector, or at least most
Yeah,
of us
yeah,
do,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
you're going to be able to tell if you want to work with someone or not. There have been many, dude, and because of my YouTube channel, like I'm getting a lot of people that are like reaching out to me wanting to work with me because of my YouTube channel. And guess what? Some people I'll refer out to other agents because I just don't think we're a good fit for each other.
Right. Right. And on my
right?
screen, are you able to see your YouTube channel on here, by
All
the
right.
way?
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
So this is, you're killing it. You're killing the game with this, man. I've been seeing the way you've been, and I've been watching, I think I've been following you since your first video.
Oh,
Uh,
really? Oh, thanks.
yeah, yeah. I've been watching it like periodically. So I've seen like the growth and the development. I've seen the development of the tagline, like the "Let's go." I don't know if that was, did you start off originally with saying "Let's go" and the other one's "and you love it," right? So people are
Yeah.
moving to Dallas
Yeah.
and you love it. I've noticed that those are the two big taglines. Are those
Yeah.
did you have those pre-planned, or did that just happen organically that you were like, I just keep saying it and now I'm going to make this my
No.
tagline?
So in the first few videos, I didn't have that, and one day I was just like, like I really want to talk about this, right? So let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
and
yeah.
when I saw the playback,
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I like that energy. I
It's catchy. It
right,
works. It works.
right.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, I started that. I'll see you on the next one,
That's right.
right?
That's right. That's the
Right.
other one. That's the other one. That's
So it and the funny thing is when people started reaching out to me and we started having conversations, like I got people that actually told me that I love the way you say let's go. We look forward to your each video to see how, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta stick to this.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah. Okay, cool.
So
That's good. So I guess there's been progression in the on the YouTube side for you. That's obviously done wonders for you. I know that there aren't a lot of real estate agents right now that are utilizing YouTube. So what made you say, man, I'm gonna like, because it is tough to put yourself out there. It is kind of difficult because you almost feel like you almost feel naked out there. You know what I mean? You're kind of
mhm.
sitting out there and you're like, all right, fuck, eyeballs all on me. Go ahead and evaluate and judge me. That's tough to do that. You know what I
So
mean?
yeah,
So,
yeah, and I'll tell you a little backstory if we've got some time, right?
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Uh, so ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to be an actor, right? I love being
Oh
on
shit.
camera. Now, like I love
Desi
performing.
or American? Which one? Which
Huh?
style? Desi
Dude,
actor.
so here's a funny thing. Do you remember? Dude, how old are you?
I'm 31.
You're 31. Do you remember Gary Coleman?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
What you talking about, Willis?
yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
I
Short.
was actually
He
in a
passed
movie
away
with
right,
him.
a couple years back. Yeah, yeah,
He passed away a while back, right? So one of the last movies he did, I was in that movie. I was in a movie with him. Okay.
yeah. What?
I was also on a pilot on ABC. Okay.
Okay, what was the movie?
Which got canceled after like one episode. Okay. It was a pilot. It didn't do well.
Uh, can we
Okay.
find that footage somewhere or no? Is that like exist?
Don't even look for it because
Don't even look.
I have a DVD copy of the movie and I'm not gonna tell you what the name is. It's
Dude, I might have to
hidden.
come over and watch it, dude.
Yeah. Even my wife hasn't seen it.
That's so funny.
Okay. So like I've always and it's one of those weird things, man. I feel like I'm one of those introverts that looks like an extrovert, but you know,
Yeah.
so you know, the video to me felt a little more natural,
Yeah.
just because you know what? Yeah, I know all these eyeballs are gonna be on me, but at the same time, I'm providing content that people want,
Yeah.
right?
For sure.
And it gets that performer in me to go
Yeah.
out and have an outlet for that stuff, right?
For sure. So it's a really
So
nice nexus. It seemed like a really good nexus in that if you're saying that, if you are a little bit more of an introvert, you've got that performance side of you, and you clearly have like you're good on camera, you're good on TV
thank you.
or whatever it is, like that whatever platform it is. So I think it's kind of cool that you said I'm gonna get to social media, like I'm gonna start
Yeah.
utilizing social media in this way.
And a lot of the real estate industry is still very old fashioned.
Yeah.
You know, people
Yeah.
are still using a lot of old techniques to generate business, which are just not working. And
Yeah.
then they wonder why they're not working. It's just the times have changed, right?
Like get DocuSign already, right? Like everybody
Yeah,
should, you know what I mean? It's like, come on, like let's
yeah,
get like at least the small stuff like that everyone should be on top of already. Another
exactly. And one advantage that I feel that I have is like, okay, so I'm gonna age myself now, right?
yeah.
I'm 41. I just turned 41 last week. Okay.
Nice. Looking good for
So, well,
41,
thank
man.
you.
Yeah.
So the advantage that I feel I have is half of my life has been analog and half of it's been digital, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Right. So I feel like I've got the best of both worlds. So I know what people want that are a little bit older, that are ready to buy homes at a certain price point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then again, I know how to attract the other side of the clients that are all digital, right? So
Yeah.
it's like I've known life before the internet and I know the life of TikTok, right?
Right. 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 Oh, dang.
So
Dropping a new one. Okay. Yeah. TikTok. Super, super new. Are you actually on TikTok right now? Have you done anything on TikTok?
dude, don't even.
You
I
did some dances,
tried
some real
and I
estate
need to delete
dances?
my profile. Um, dude, it's one of those things. Yeah, eventually I'll sell a house to a TikToker like in 4 years when they're 18 years old.
Yeah, they're gonna be, and they're making
right?
money. I mean, they're some kids are doing. I saw a TikToker on Jimmy Fallon's show. I
Yeah,
couldn't believe it. I was like, wait, how? Like, I didn't even know this was that big of a platform, and they already had like I think it was like 18 million subscribers or something
it's
like that. Yeah,
it's
something.
ridiculous, dude.
So,
But so I decided that I'm gonna do, and I've never been much into cold calling and being a pushy salesperson in real estate,
yeah,
right? So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna figure out platforms that people. I'm just gonna attract clients. I'm not gonna go out and push myself on people. I'm gonna put out stuff that's gonna attract people to me, right?
yeah.
So that's why I got more active on Instagram, on Facebook, and then on YouTube. Like those are my three channels, right? That I'm getting like majority of my business from.
Yeah, and I think I've got access to all three here too. So if you want, let me go ahead and pull those up too. So I showed everybody the YouTube page. Obviously, this link. I mean, I think if they search AK Ali, they'll find you, or AK Real
Yeah.
Estate. They should be able to
Yep.
find you from there. You changed your name on here, right? Recently to Dallas Amplified, right? It
Yes,
wasn't
I did.
okay. It was AK before, right?
It was. So I kind of rebranded my Instagram page. So if you go down the feed, you'll
Uh huh.
see more consistency with the themes and the colors now, where
That's
it looks
right.
more uniform.
That's
And
right.
before it was a lot more random, right?
God, you're doing this yourself, or are you getting someone to? Are you working with like an agency, or are you working with a rep to kind of do this? What's the process here?
I'm doing it myself because I also own a social media agency that I do this stuff for agents that don't live in DFW. So I
Awesome.
actually I coach people how to attract clients in their marketplace.
That's right. You used to do Facebook classes back in the day, right? I've been
Right. Yeah.
following you, man. I've been watching your
Yeah.
shit. So yeah, you were teaching like I guess like newer or maybe even established agents on how they can use Facebook ads
Right.
to land new clients. Are you still doing that now? Is that still something that you're
I
doing?
am. I am. So now I'm coaching people more on, because in Facebook ads are still
The
effective,
ad
but the
right
cost
here.
but the costs have gone up tremendously.
Yeah.
So what I'm coaching a lot of agents on now is how to attract business without really having to output a lot for ads.
Okay.
So like, Instagram growth, YouTube growth, stuff like that, that's not going to cost them a bunch, right? Which is very organic and it feels more real,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
because I think authenticity is what people are looking for now. And
Yeah.
that's why it's like you'll notice in some of my videos, dude, like I shot a video out of my daughter's room the other day,
I did. I saw that one. I'm
right?
telling you, I'm watching. I was gonna
Yeah,
ask you about that too if we had time. But are you in your daughter's room right now?
I am. I am.
There you
You know?
go. I thought I remembered the dresser when I saw the last
Yeah.
video.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's I'm in her room right now. So it's people are looking for that authenticity, that someone
yeah,
that they can connect with, right? That's why even in my videos, you're not gonna see me in a suit and tie. I'm not a suited up, tied up real estate agent
fair.
that people are
Yeah, yeah,
traditionally
yeah.
used to.
No, I can't do all
You know what I
that.
mean?
Right, right, right.
So because when people can connect with you because that's who you really are,
Yeah,
right? That's where the relationship happens, man. And it's
yeah,
it's all about knowing what you know. It's not about that superficial image, because the real estate industry, it's a very superficial image. Like, you got to have a certain type of car, you got to be dressed in a certain way, blah, right? All
yeah,
that kind of stuff. But as times change, as the buyers are becoming younger and younger that are looking to purchase homes, they're
yeah.
looking for agents that are more relatable to them,
Yeah,
right?
no, for sure, for sure, for sure. And I think so I got like two major topics left that I wanted to talk to you about as we
Okay.
kind of wind down a little bit. So I know I said this would be an hour, but it's also just shooting the shit. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
get
dude.
as much as I can. So
You
yeah,
can edit some stuff out, keep some stuff, whatever you want to do.
no, I'm not editing shit. I don't have the capacity for all that. I'm just gonna literally
Okay.
post it as I see it, man. I'm just running with it the way it is. I
Cool.
think for now, who knows? Maybe later on I may
Yeah.
change the model or format a little bit,
Yeah.
but for now, I think I'm just gonna post exactly how this goes.
Yeah. Raw's good, man.
Yeah, right. So okay, so the on the investing side, so that's something that I think I'd be really interested to learn more about too. So
Okay.
how do I evaluate? And I've never invested in real estate property. Like I just bought my own home, but I've never actually went out and bought property, right? So I guess walk us through that process. You said you have some real estate clients who are kind of interested
Yeah.
in doing the real estate side. Are you yourself also investing in real estate as a realtor, or are
Oh
you
yeah.
involved just in the transactional side?
Oh no, no, I invest too. But here's the thing. Like the funny thing is, I've got a lot of clients that don't even live in Texas
Yeah.
that are investing in properties in Texas with me, right?
Wow.
That are buying homes, utilizing me as their agent, right? Not like as a partnership, but I'm their agent, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like, this I've had multiple people buy homes here that live in California. They've got that California money,
Yeah,
right?
and that's a big migration that's been happening, right?
Oh
From
yeah,
California to Dallas. Like LA to Dallas seems to be like they're almost
it's
becoming like sisters.
huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. And you know, a lot of those people, you know, when they sell their little 3 bedroom, two bath house that's like 1,500 square feet for $1.5 million,
Yeah, yeah.
right? They're
Yeah.
like, what do we do with all this cash? Because we can buy the same house here for like 500 grand,
Yeah, you're gonna behemoth of a
right?
house here, man.
So
Yeah.
they're like, we have an extra $1 million. I'm like, let's put it to work for you, right?
Right, right.
So there are certain cities and communities around DFW that I really like as investment places,
Yeah.
especially because there's a lot of new construction happening, and there are only very, very, very few. Okay, I only know of two big builders that will allow investors to purchase homes.
Oh wow.
Okay, they
Okay.
have to either they most builders they don't want their complexes to become like rental hubs, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they'll only sell it if it's going to be your primary residence. But there are a couple of builders that will allow each quarter of a certain amount of units, excuse me, to be sold to investors.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so I've got good contacts with those guys. So
These are new
um,
homes, right? These are like brand
these
new construction
these are
homes.
brand new homes. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and
Okay.
that's where you're going to get some good deals. These are like inventory brand new construction homes, so you can get them at a really good deal.
Yeah.
And in 5 to 7 years, you know, you'll most likely build enough equity in that house with someone else's rental money,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
you can cash out and you can buy two homes in another new development for that same amount,
Okay,
right?
so I realized I forgot to ask you earlier. So how much are you putting down originally on your home? So should you be doing 5%, 10%, 15%,
So
avoiding the PMI? Kind of what's your thought process?
right. So, you know, again, another misconception out there is you got to have 20% down to be able to buy a house. Nope.
Yeah.
Okay, let's kill that. The minimum that you need to buy a house is 3%. Okay, it's 3% on a conventional loan, 3.5% on an FHA. Okay,
Okay. Even with factoring in PMI, you recommend
so
only putting down 3%?
I don't recommend anything, man. I recommend what you're comfortable with. Okay,
Okay.
what you're
Okay.
comfortable putting in, right? So if you don't want PMI, you got to put in 20%.
So say I
Okay,
can afford the 20%, I can afford the 10%, I can afford the 3%. So from like an investing standpoint, right?
okay.
Um, where would you kind of fall on that? Would you say then,
So
hey, what would you kind of recommend in that position if you were
what I
able
would yeah. So if I was gonna make a recommendation, or this is what I would do, right? If I had 25% to put down towards a house,
Yeah.
okay, I would have my primary residence. I would put 5% down, okay, and then I would buy a second property with 20% down and put that up for rent. Because when you buy a rental property for an investment loan, you need 20% down minimum
Okay. And you
for
have to
your
disclose it up front? You have to disclose that
yes.
this is going to be an investment property? Okay.
Yes, because your lender is going to require that, because your
Okay.
lender is going to know you already have a primary residence.
Yeah.
So the second property, you can't live in two places simultaneously
Okay.
unless if the second house is out of state. Then you can have a second home out of state. Okay.
Got it. Got it. Got it.
So I would put the minimum amount down on my personal property, and then I would put 20% down on an investment property and start building wealth in that other house while I'm still building some equity in my current house.
Got it. And the way
Yeah.
to build equity and the way to generate income off of that second property that you just purchased by putting 20% down is by immediately putting it up for rent. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, just put it up for rent and then just have, you might break even with 20% down.
Yeah.
Okay. Because, you know, to create positive cash flow, you'll probably need to put more for the math to work, right?
Okay.
But even if you're breaking even and building equity in your house year in and year out with someone else's money, it's
Yeah.
a no brainer.
So breaking even with like your mortgage basically, right? So even if you're
Right.
not, but you're still getting equity in the home for free effectively with
Exactly.
for
You're
20%.
getting equity. You're getting equity in the house for free, plus you're getting property appreciation for free. So
Right.
you're growing. You may not have positive cash flow in hand each month,
Yeah.
but your net worth is growing every single year,
Right, right. And
right?
what would normally traditionally, I mean, houses, it's kind of up for debate, right? In some neighborhoods, houses don't appreciate like the way they used to, but at least this way right now, you're creating another asset class. You're effectively
Correct.
investing in another asset class, which would be real estate, which would be your home. It's another way for you to generate some passive income, or if not income, then at least equity, right?
Right. And
You know,
it's about, a lot of it's about wealth creation and wealth sustenance, right? And here's a crazy fact that, you know, a lot of people may not be aware of. When you look at the creation of land in Texas, ever since Texas was a state, or ever since they started recording the data,
uh-huh,
right?
uh-huh,
We've gone through recessions, we've gone through the Great Depression, right?
yeah,
We've
hmm
been ups and downs, peaks and valleys, all of that stuff. On average, Texas real estate has gone up 4%.
Year over year?
Well, if you average it out. So during the bad times, it probably went down, but on the good
Sure,
times, it
sure,
went
sure, sure.
high, right? But when you
Right.
average it out, since they started collecting data, Texas real estate has gone up 4% a year.
Okay.
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 Now, the amount of appreciation you'll get in certain properties now, again, will depend on having a good realtor to guide you where the good spots are, to look at the historical stats and to see what the projections might be,
Right,
right?
right.
And with that, you're able to kind of at least calculate, hey, this might be a better bet than something else.
So this is okay. So this is one way of doing it on a brand new property. What about like I constantly see a lot of people on my Instagram, things like that, where they're doing fixer uppers, where they're
Mhm.
buying existing fixer upper properties and then kind of transitioning them.
Right.
You have experience with that? Any sort of advice or information about that kind of investment and what that kind of entails?
I stay away from fixer uppers. Like
Why,
if I have an investor that tells me, hey, I want to buy a fixer upper, I'll refer it out to another agent.
why is
Okay.
that?
Just because of the nightmares that I've seen from my colleagues and their clients,
Okay.
especially when they're new investors. People, AGTV has ruined our lives. Okay. It's great entertainment. It's
Yeah,
about
it
as
is.
accurate as Zillow.
Right, right,
Okay.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Right. It's great entertainment, but you're not the costs of fixing a house and the knowledge that you need to have to get the parts and the labor and the materials and all of that stuff. It's a lot harder than what people think it is,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
They see certain success stories that, hey, someone flipped a house in 4 months and made $50,000. That's great,
I'm seeing that all the time. That's the thing. I'm like,
right?
okay, well, why am I not doing this? That's kind of
Right.
the question that you kind of ask yourself, right? When you're seeing that.
Yeah, but it's not as easy as it looks, right? Because
Yeah.
you have to be able to find a property that's priced just right, and because there are so many people wanting to do this, those investor special properties are very competitive,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
hard to find one that's going to be listed in the MLS because everyone's jumping on it, right?
Yeah.
Then it's about having the holding costs available to pay for the mortgage, pay for the repairs up front, pay all the
Yeah.
commissions when you sell it,
Having
and
good
calculate all of that stuff.
contractors, right? And then
You're having
having
good
good
contract. Yeah,
contractors to build everything out. And but do you have relationship with contractors too? Seeing
I
as how
do.
you're probably dealing with so many
Mhm.
different homes, and that's probably a really good competitive advantage to have too, right? And knowing that you've
Yeah,
got access to these contractors, so if you need to make any updates to the house later on, could people contact you for that and say like, hey, I needed a
abs-
or something like this? Would you be able to?
absolutely. And that's the thing, right? Like I stay in touch with my clients well after they've done the transaction with me, right? Like they know if they need anything, I'm here. They need some blinds repaired. They need to put in a new sprinkler system. They can always reach out to me, and I can recommend some people that I know that do good work.
Good. No,
You
that's
know?
good to know. That's really good to know too. I think that relationship, the fact that it carries over, because you're probably going to end up buying another home. Most people end up buying a few homes in their lifetime anyway, right? I think
Oh
it's 10
yeah,
homes
every
usually.
7 years, man.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
Like the average person in the U.S. moves every 7 to 8 years. You know,
Okay. Yeah,
and
yeah, that
then
makes
a
sense.
lot of our business also comes from referrals. So guess what? If you're going to be happy with me, you're going to tell your friends and family when they're ready to buy a house to use me. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right. So okay,
So
yeah,
it's
fair enough.
so it's all about providing that service.
And I guess my last question back to the investing side. So now you as a realtor are generating your income through obviously doing the transactions, being involved there, and then also kind of learning to invest because you now see tons of properties and you're kind of making the decision on okay, which one is good for me to buy and then maybe to offload as a real estate property. Doing it, are you doing this with a consortium? Are you doing this with other realtors? Are you doing this with other smileys? Are you doing this with people within your own family? Or is it just you find one property and then you kind of slowly take it one property at a time? Kind of what's that
Yeah.
process?
When it comes to my other ventures, I'm more of a solo shop.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, I've had certain experiences with partners and stuff like that in the past. So I'm very very wary of that stuff now.
yeah.
And so I do as much as I can handle on my own.
Do you run into
When
scaling issues then? Whether it's dealing with real estate as an investor or whether it's dealing with being a realtor, like there's only one of you, right? So even
right.
in terms of clients, like is that a problem that you've kind of run into where you maybe have too many clients to deal with where you're not able to
Well,
kind of manage them?
so I've got a team that works for me, right? So I've got 3 agents on my team currently. So the AK Realty Group is me and a few other agents, right?
Okay. Okay.
So basically, I hand off business to them that I can't handle at any given time. And then they generate their own business. And I kind of coach them and help them grow their business as well.
Okay,
Right.
cool.
So they're all under the AK Realty
And
Group.
are you looking to add people to that network, or
I
is
am.
it something that you're open to doing? Saying, well, like, hey, if you got somebody that's like interested in this particular space, because I think now there's like a really, it's sort of an interesting point. I mean, you're kind of dealing with potentially a long-term down market. We don't really know what's going to happen. And one of the things that I constantly hear people saying is, invest in yourself, invest
Hmm.
in the idea of like learning new things, right? Invest in sort of a knowledge, expanding your knowledge base. And I think that this might be the time where you start seeing maybe more people, because I think you kind of said that the barrier to entry isn't so high, but then
Hmm.
actually getting to work and the fact that you don't learn everything from just that initial education isn't going to teach you how to actually sell homes.
Right.
So the fact that like that you could be potentially looking to expand your network is I think good for people to know too, potentially.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those things, and being a part of the AK Realty Group, it's basically like you're kind of you're in my umbrella, right?
Yeah.
Where you're gonna get access to all the resources that I provide to my agents because we are a team within ourselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So there's with the way things are going again, I'm glad you brought this up. Like even the downturn that you're talking about,
Yeah.
the real estate market, man, especially in Texas and the north and the DFW area, I don't see it having much of an effect long term.
Yeah.
Just because of how many people are moving here, the companies are still here, the big companies still have jobs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And this isn't like the 2008 recession where it was actually a financial meltdown,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right now, this is something that's completely like it's unprecedented, right? Like we haven't lived through any of this stuff.
Right.
But the housing market, people will always need a place to live. One of the reasons I got into real estate, right, is guess what? People will always need a roof,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. That's a fair point. Yeah, it's like
Right?
it's always an in-demand
Yeah,
style, and I think you
yeah.
had written out like a series of like explanations as to why this is considered an essential business
Hmm.
recently, and you'd kind of like listed a few like possible scenarios where people need to move for whatever
Hmm.
reason, whether it's health related, medical related, whether it's the fact that you maybe need to downsize or
Yeah,
whatever it might be, whatever that reason might be, is that people still actually may need to move during this time. Um,
right.
it kind of
And
becomes
then,
recession proof almost.
well, and that's the thing, right? Home prices may go up and down, but people will always need a place to live, whether it's leases, whether they need to rent an apartment, or whether they need to buy a house. And what a lot of people don't understand is as a real estate agent, guess what? I can help with apartment leases too,
Oh,
right?
okay, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So as realtors, we have access to like everything. We can do rental homes, purchase and sale of a home, rental leases in
Okay,
apartments. We can do all of that stuff, right?
okay, awesome.
So it's a lot of my clients that are moving in from out of town. Guess what? I hook them up with an apartment first for a year until they get acclimated to the city, and then they're ready to purchase,
Got it. Got it. That's
right?
actually a really good point too. Yeah, I'd never realized that. So I think that's again another little useful nugget for like why people should contact you or should contact their or
Right? Yeah.
should be in the market for looking for a realtor rather than
Yeah.
kind of being dismissive about the idea of maybe needing one or and you can shave off a lot of time. I think that's the other thing too, man. It's like
Mhm.
I really value my time now. I think my time is I feel like was worth more than a lot. Than it used to
Yeah.
be when I was younger. You know what I mean? So I think the older you get, the more you start to value time. I mean, it's finite. It runs out.
Absolutely.
It's like,
And
how much time do you really want to spend doing all this shit on your own, or do you really want to
mhm.
bring the expert that kind of has a ton of experience, whose whole profession is kind of based around finding you the best deal? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
why not spend some time?
And and that's exactly why I built my team, right? Because for the longest time I was in solo agent. Then when I started the AK Realty Group and started hiring people,
Yeah,
it got to a point where I'm like, you know what? There's only so many clients I can work with at a time. And not just that, the real estate industry is it's difficult to manage personally, right?
yeah,
Because you're literally on call 24/7 when someone's buying a house because they could be stressed out and they could call you at like 12 o'clock at night because they're freaking out the day before closing and you need to be there for them, right?
yeah, for
and
sure.
and and as my daughter is growing up, right, I want to spend as much time with her as possible until she gets older, right,
Yeah,
because
because she
she's
wants
going to
you
be this little for
like, get
only
out
for
of my
so
room,
long.
Dad. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
coming soon too. I'm sure. It's just like
Right.
not gonna want you around. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's like, when she's this little, I want to spend as much time as I can with her. So I'm one of those agents. I don't work a lot of evenings. I don't work a lot of weekends. Okay. When I work with clients, my clients have that understanding that, you know what, when we're actively looking for homes and weekends are the only times that they're able to get out, yes, I'm there for them. I'm there for them whenever they need, right?
Right. Right.
But at the same time, you know, there needs to be boundaries when you're working with clients as well. And you know, they're if they're comfortable with it, I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah,
And
and I'm sure
if
it's a sliding scale too, right? I think it depends on kind of how what you've got going on, what they've got going on, how pressing.
exactly,
I mean,
and
everyone's
both of
human.
us
No
need to
one's
be flexible, and both of
right,
us need to be flexible with that stuff, right? But if there's a client that says, you know what, I can only look at homes after 6 o'clock in the evenings and only on weekends, that's the only time I can do.
right,
So at that point, I'm like, you know what, great, I'm going to be here for you, but I'm going to have my showing agent show you the homes. I'm still going to be a part of the transaction, but
right,
one of my other agents is actually going to tour the homes with you.
right, right. And it's like a
You know,
vetted agent, and it's like a vetted member of your team.
it's
So I
it's my
think
team member that I trust, because if I didn't trust them, guess what, I wouldn't have hired them.
right, and this is how you kind of address that scaling issue, right?
Exactly.
So, and yeah, it's a fair point, man. So I think, in my opinion, I think this conversation has been really helpful. One, for why I would need to hire somebody like you, right? Number one. Two, how I would find you. I kind of showed everybody how to do that. I think other real estate agents might actually learn a lot too from this, which is kind of good. You're uplifting the profession. So I
Absolutely.
think that's a good thing. And then on the social media side, I know I'll be seeing a lot more videos and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
I've been following it. I've been watching it for a while,
I
so I'll get
appreciate it, man.
that for sure. But
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
man, thanks for the time. I know we ended up running a little long, but
It
it was
was fun,
yeah, super
dude.
easy to talk to you, and I'm sure we'll do this again at some point. Maybe when I'm closer to buying a home or something, or looking into some investments, I'll come hit you up and we'll talk.
Yeah, dude. There are a couple of places in DFW, dude. They're so hot right now for for investments.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
let me know. I'll hook you up with the whole package, man. I get you a property management company and everything. So all you're
Perfect.
doing is sitting back and collecting checks, dude.
That's the life, right? I mean, that's the goal for everybody, right? So it's
Yeah,
like that 4 hour work week talk. You know what I mean? Where it's like you don't
yeah.
want to work.
Well, let your money work for you, dude.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly,
Right?
exactly. Well, thanks a lot for the time,
This
man. I
is fun.
really appreciate it, and we'll definitely be in
Good time.
touch, man. Cool. And
Sounds good.
I'll have all your contact information in the link as soon as I upload the video too, so they'll
All
be
right.
able to get to you. Cool.
Sounds good, man. It was
All right.
great talking to you.
You too, man. Peace.
Take care.